Today, we're exploring what it really means for the Isle of Man to be a UNESCO Biosphere, a place where people, nature, and culture all live in balance. Joining me is Mark Emmington, award-winning director of the Comis Hotel and Golf Resort, with a background in civil engineering and a passion for the island. He's led major sustainability projects that show how business and the environment can thrive together. As a committed member of the Biosphere Isle of Man board, Mark is inspiring local communities and young people to protect what makes this place so special. Let's go into what the biosphere really means for our island and why it matters for the generations to come. So then, Mark, how are we?
I'm very well, thank you. Loving the studio, loving my fine glass of H2O, and looking forward to getting stuck in.
Yeah. So let's really get stuck in then from the beginning and start back at the beginning for you and how this all started. So what experiences have you had in the past that has led you into being part of the UNESCO Biosphere now?
I think it's a number of things. The reason why I'm on the Isle of Man's quite a strange one. So basically, very long story short, I built some houses in the Lake District.
Yeah.
One of the partners of the big company over here bought one. I became friends with him, really nice guy, and he knew that I was into motorsports and stuff. And he said one year, "Well, why don't you come and watch the TT?" And I said, "I'd love to." He's like, "Come and stop at my mum and dad's house. They lived over by Signpost Corner."
Yeah.
And so I started coming over for the TT. I think a lot of people that live here came over because of the TT. I'm not a crazy TT fan, but I do like TT, and I think it's bad on when it continues. You know?
Yes.
And I used to, I mean, he's a really nice guy, such a nice guy that you'd think there's something wrong with him, but there isn't, if you know what I mean. And, you know, I don't know, there's not a politically correct way of saying this, but I used to come down, it's like a stag do, we used to get drunk and have a great time, watch the bikes. And, you know, I thought Douglas during TT was the Isle of Man. I didn't realise it's only for 2 weeks of the year.
Yes, but you fall in love with the place, don't you?
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's part of it. This is a kind of a beginning. And what used to happen was I used to basically live in the loft of this house and come down a ladder, and every morning his mum would have a bacon sandwich waiting for me and a cup of tea and all that sort of stuff. We'd been out. Another time we came back to his house, and his dad's in the garage. His dad, Brian King, everybody. If you ever walk down the street, everyone stops you every 5 minutes. Terrible.
Yeah.
It takes you forever to do anything. But he's a really nice guy, and he's talking to a fella in the garage about motorbikes and model aeroplanes. He said, model aeroplanes. So I sort of drifted in and just joined in the conversation. And about 20 minutes later, I said, "Who's that?" I went, "Oh, I don't know. It's just some bloke who walked past." And I started to realise, basically, and a lot of other instances, but they were the early ones, that what a great community the Isle of Man is.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up in a little village, which was much the same. I knew everybody, my dad knew everybody, you respected your elders.
Yes.
You know, you didn't need people to do things because people used to cut their own grass and do this, all them sort of things where people are kind of accountable for the community. And so I started spotting that. And then another friend of mine who's a friend of the guy that introduced me to the Isle of Man, I suppose.
Yes.
His dad does a lot of stuff. I don't know if you've ever come across Bellinet Park.
Yeah.
He does a lot of things like that. And he said, "Why don't you come to the Biosphere lecture?" I didn't know anything about it. Yeah, why not? Because I've learned to start saying yes to things. There's all sorts of things that I would never do because they were outside my comfort zone. But I thought, "Oh, do you know what? I'll come along." And there's a guy there. I have to think back now. Dr. Peter Drinkwater, he was called.
Right.
He did. I think it was the inaugural Biosphere lecture. We had one the other day.
Yeah.
And he came over to talk about what biosphere meant. Because again, same as probably a number of people on the island, they all know that it's a biosphere, but they don't know what it means.
Correct.
And this fella, he gets, an Australian guy, gets to talking. I mean, I can't remember it all. It's probably on YouTube somewhere. I should watch it again. It's quite good.
Refresh.
Yeah, he's like, a million animals are going to become extinct and you just think, oh, here we go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said, they said, this number is incomprehensible. And he said, it may or may not happen. And he said, but the problem with that is, basically, I'm paraphrasing here and butchering it because it was 6 years ago. He said that all the good news, all the other headlines in these reports are being ignored now because this 1 million pound figure, because everyone gets into the doom and gloom. And then he started to talk about why it's not realistic. And, it's so good on the Isle of Man to start thinking about it sustainably. And he started talking about biodiversity, which is basically biological diversity, the amount of different insects and bugs and animals and all the rest of it that live on the planet. They tend to thrive in indigenous populations. So, no, he's right. And there's a point to all this.
Yes.
Forgive me.
Don't worry.
But so this guy's Australian. So indigenous is I presume it's the Aborigines you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because they've always lived there, because they're always going to live there, they look after and care for the land that they live on. And that was the concept that he tried to get across. And he was basically saying that, think about it. He lost me a little bit with it, but think of biosphere as a conversation. So it's a conversation between you and nature and you, nature and all this sort of thing. So, basically it's kind of leaving the place as good as you found it. And that was so that the next generations can enjoy it. And what I think the point he was making with indigenous people is they've always lived there, they're always going to live there, so they're looking after it for their children, children's children, and so on.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what about that sort of hooked you then? Like when you went to that meeting 6 years ago, what about it was like, actually, I really like that idea?
Because I'm the first member of my family not to grow up on a farm. So I've always been in the countryside and always around nature. We were out catching frogs as kids and messing about, and jumping on horses, touching electric fences, all the stuff that
young and dumb, as they say.
And so you have a healthy respect for it.
Yes.
And over the years, I still have my house in Lancashire, so I split my time between the two effectively, massively more time over here.
Yes.
Also just building on everything and all that sort of thing, and I just find it quite upsetting.
And it sort of kills all your old memories almost, because you're seeing things that you used to see green get built on.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. But the other thing is that, again, coming from off the Isle of Man, when I come to the Isle of Man, I used to spend a lot of time in the Lake District. I've worked all over the world, never mind anything else. The Radney Foyle and the coastal road around the Isle of Man, it's absolutely beautiful. The walks up the mountains, all the different things there is to see and do on the Isle of Man.
Yes.
These things need protected at all costs. So, anything I can do to help preserve, protect, or educate, or anything like that, I was wanting to do.
Yeah, and what that's actually really interesting, because people don't recognise sometimes. They get stuck in this tunnel and don't sort of see what's going on around them sometimes, do they?
Yeah.
And a lot of us can fall for that. Yeah, I'm just thinking, when you talk about protecting footpaths, hill ground, is there people who really want to destroy that sort of thing? Like, is that something that actually happens?
No, I don't think people want to destroy it. There's not hill grounds and things like that, but it's just it needs to be, what's the word? Respected. People take things for granted, if you know what I mean. So it's great to appreciate it. It's great to appreciate these walks and things and use them. And look after them, and show people. One of the things that sort of I look after with the Biosphere and in my day job, if that's the right word, is tourism. The Isle of Man for many years has been big on tourism. So I want people to come here and see and respect and tell their friends.
Yeah, and how do you think the Isle of Man's tourism is currently at the moment?
I don't know. It seems okay. I'm not kind of representing Comis today, but it gets busier every year.
Okay, you've seen a rise then?
Yeah. It gets busier every year. There's a big mix of people that come to the island. Quite a lot for business, quite a lot for pleasure. Quite a lot of people coming over to look for somewhere to live as well. We're seeing all sorts of things that's quite interesting.
Yeah, that is actually interesting, because the Isle of Man needs to be cherished as somewhere to go. It's just trying to make it viable and cheap enough to get here.
Dubai is not cheap to go to. Monaco, cheap to go and watch a
Very true.
But because it's special, people want to go. They want to tick a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They want to. They want to go to they want to go to a 5-star hotel. They want to go and watch a Grand Prix in Monaco. And if we are seen as a beacon, for sustainability or whatever you want to call it, it's such a nice place. Sustainable tourism, I think people will travel.
Yes, that's
people
true.
will travel for you know, the what's it called, the El Camino. There's a walk in Spain that
Yes,
people do.
through the mountains and all. Is that right?
Yeah. It's like a pilgrimage that they used to do. It's 500 kilometres, whatever. People come to do that because people get behind it. So if we can capture people's imagination, they're going to want to come to the Isle of Man.
Mm.
You know, I love the Isle of Man. I've made it my home.
Yeah.
I want other people to come and see it.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I think that we've got to hold on, like you say, to that community factor because
It's so important.
it's so important. And do you think travelling to and from the UK to the Isle of Man, do you think they're starting to lose a little bit of that in the UK in recent years?
I think that's been going on a while. I'm not wishing to get into politics.
No, but
No,
comparing
no.
sort of how that is and the difference between here and the UK.
I'll give you the exact. I grew up in a village, so
Mhm.
everybody knew everybody. Everyone knew everyone's business. if you did something wrong, it'd be your dad that'd be giving you a crack rather than the local cop or whatever it was. You know,
Yeah.
That's the way it was. It's probably, I don't know, quite old-fashioned in that respect. When I couldn't afford to buy a house in the village when I got old enough to get a house,
Mhm.
so I moved somewhere else that was basically handy to get on the motorway to go to work. That was, I wanted somewhere to park my car and I wanted somewhere handy for the motorway.
Mm.
And they'd opened a motorway junction near this place. So I'd moved in, and I wasn't the only person that had this idea. Lots of other people have moved in as well. So
Yes.
everywhere where there's affordable houses, there's something like more expensive. You get the crack. And the lady that lived next door, the wall had blown over. It wasn't my wall; it was her wall. It blown over. She's about 80-year-old, so I rebuilt the wall for her.
Yeah.
You know,
Nice thing to do.
well, it's just what you should do. You never, you should always do the right thing.
Yes.
And then she's out like, it used to be like that round here, but it's not like that anymore. Because if you get too many people that aren't from the area, you lose that connection because they don't know that person, this person, the other person. That, there's a certain amount of accountability that comes with that because people won't do things wrong if they know that everyone's going to find out about it.
yeah. And the neighbours will hold you accountable, be like, hang on a minute, mate, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing that. That is important, isn't it?
Drag them right back at the pub and explain to them why they shouldn't do things.
And we do just need to make sure we cherish that here on the Isle of Man. Because sometimes I talk to older people, and I'm sure you talk to older Manx people as you are up there at the Comis, and I'm sure they have older people coming up there and talking, and that's how things used to be everywhere, I think.
Yeah.
And it has sort of diminished. And is that what the Biosphere? Because Biosphere also covers culture, doesn't it?
It covers a lot of things, and I think it's good that we've sort of come at it this way because most people, again, always in the environment, roll their eyes and don't want to talk to you. But it's not. There's 5 E's in
5 E's.
5 E's in the biosphere, which is I'm not familiar with it. It's on the website if anyone wants to go and have a look at.
Yeah.
But environment is only one of those E's, and like I say, community and culture is a huge part of that. We saw that. I mean, you and I were at the Silver Lapwing Award.
Yes.
Which
was tremendous.
it was great. Not enough people know about it, which is unfortunate. But what a fantastic! I mean, all the right people. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
What a fantastic thing! We did all the talks and the awards, and then they come out and they do all the Manx singing and dancing.
Yes.
Absolutely fantastic.
Manx wool was there. There was Manx tartan there. It was just a good Manx day, wasn't it?
What's that? Chorizo. Lockton
Yeah.
chorizo. Come on, who thought of that? Very
So
by the way.
good.
Get your Manx chorizo.
Yeah, literally, it is so good. But that's what makes the Isle of Man special. Things like that, and you can't find Manx locked and chorizo, and people think you're crazy saying it's different than a normal bit of chorizo, but it is.
Yeah, of course it is.
It's quality.
Yeah, it's individual, and there's lots and lots of stuff like that, and I think that's that's an area where the biosphere can help. I mean,
Yeah.
we know where the biosphere is now, but I tend to look at, I'm perhaps a little bit commercial, but I look at the opportunities for the Isle of Man with the reflected credibility of the biosphere, if that makes any sense.
Mhm.
And the biosphere, for those who don't know, have various partners. Comis Hotel is a partner. Various other people you can sign up, make a pledge, and say, are you going to sort of operate sustainably, if you will.
Like a biosphere badge for that company.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Well, you're a biosphere partner. But,
Right. Okay.
But we could make that basically a stamp of excellence.
Mhm.
So if you've got the Manx Sea Salt Company, if you've got Fenodridge, all these other things, everything all the way up to Swagelock, who are a massive engineering employer on the island. you know, we make that brand stand for something, and people, you know, like honey and all these other things that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, back in England, I keep bees. I have a couple of beehives.
Oh, right.
I would here, but I live in an apartment, so I'd probably upset the neighbours if I put them in the hall. But there's various parasites, and one in particular is called a varroa beetle, and it gets under it gets in between the scales effectively of a bee, and it's bad for them. On the Isle of Man, there's no parasites and there's no varroa. So, you know, those bees are unique. Isle of Man bees are almost unique because every bee in Europe has got varroa. So
That's just crazy.
Yeah, but it's just little things, these little point differences. And the thing is that people like a story. So when they're buying something, they like a story. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is Manx honey from a biosphere with Manx bees. And
Yeah.
tell the story. Wonderful.
And people sometimes criticise the Isle of Man for being so isolated, but it's in a position like that where, because we are away from everywhere else, that we can protect what we've got.
Yeah, I mean,
Like protecting those bees, we would have it if we weren't an island, because it would just spread like it would everywhere else, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, that's why like the foxes and squirrels and all that sort of
Yeah.
thing. You know, it's what makes the Isle of Man unique. I hope they don't criticise it for that, but then again, in today's world, people like to criticise everything.
People do criticise things, and that can sometimes be the shame.
Hmm.
So I think we should actually kind of talk through these 5 E's or 6. Is it 6 E's or 5 E's?
Well, it was 5 E's.
Yeah.
It went to 6 E's, but I think, and I can explain why. Sure, I think we're looking at we've had 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time of flux at the moment because I mean, you had Bree Shoot the other day.
Yes.
Jackie, they're the warriors that are on the ground doing all the good work.
Driving.
They're doing along with the youth representatives and everybody else all the good people that are involved with the biosphere. They're doing what they call the 10-year review. So the Isle of Man's been a biosphere for best part of 10 years. So we've basically got to review that and get the next 10 years, if you will. So that's a busy time.
Yeah.
The board has been put in place as well. So there's an awful lot of things going on.
Mm.
You know, so we're sort of looking at yesterday, today, and tomorrow all at the same time. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on. So
Planning ahead almost.
yeah, I would suspect that the 5 E's may change, but let's say it's not.
Yeah, because it's just, I think we should just go over them briefly, because I don't know what they are, and some people don't even know what the biosphere means for the Isle of Man, really.
Yeah,
And those 5 E's represent what it means, essentially, I suspect.
I think what it is, and you know, I looked at this around about the time when I went to this talk because again everyone goes, oh yeah, it's just a biosphere. Well, it's a biosphere. Well, nobody really knows what it means, and it's so simple that I think people probably overlook it. And the technical term for a biosphere, I think, is the living surface of the planet. That's all it is.
Okay.
That's all biosphere means. So we are a whole nation biosphere, which in itself is unique. I think something's just become a whole state biosphere, but we're the only whole nation biosphere. And from a biosphere point of view, it's kind of split into 3 zones. We've got the core zones, so there's the marine reserves, so there's the big one.
That's a big part of the Isle of Man's one, isn't it? Sure.
Yeah, I think it's one of the biggest reserves that there are. And then you've got the sort of terrestrial, or to you and me, land reserves. So you've got,
I'm a land mammal, I hate to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, terrestrial. Words are just confuses folk. But yeah, so the land one, you know, you've got like the Curraghs, the Point of
Yeah.
Obviously the Calf Man, whatever. So the land ones. Then you've got, I think they call it the Kerr areas, which are the bits in between. Then you've got the bit where people live, and that's all it is. So the Isle of Man is split up into those 3 zones and registered as a biosphere. And that's all. It's nothing more complicated than that.
Yes, that's it simply put, really.
Yeah. Well, that's the reality of it.
Yeah. That's crazy how not. I've had a few people say, "Oh, is the biosphere? Or is it a load of rubbish? Is it this? Is it that?" And I'll be like, I don't really know, and I don't think enough people really know to make that judgment out of that. And especially young people at the moment, a lot of young people are wanting to move off the island and get away from the island, which I completely understand, to go spread their wings. But it's still nice that they understand what the Isle of Man has to offer, isn't it? And that is that biosphere. And it's interesting how how do you progress the Isle of Man forwards but look after that biosphere at the same time when it comes to like some building things and progressing things forwards?
Well, I mean, just going back to what you just said, I think what about people leaving the island and coming back, like I said, I don't think there's anything should be done about that. You know?
Yeah, that's life, isn't it?
It's, you know, I mean, you left the island for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've got to go out there and do some things, make some mistakes, and all the rest of it.
Learn.
And you know, Kristen, the guy that I was talking about, as soon as he had a family, he came back to the Isle of Man, and it took him to move away to realise that he should come back to the Isle of Man because it's a great place to be. And you know,
Yes.
I'm not going to say it's a mistake. It's not, but we all make decisions.
Yeah.
Sometimes we come back to the Isle of Man.
Spread your wings, and you realise that it's safe. It's safer here. It's a nice place to raise a family. You go out, you see the world, and then you're like, okay, that's home, really, isn't it? That's probably what people think, I would imagine.
Yeah. But you know, in terms of like the nature reserves and things we've talked about, the Biosphere don't own them, and they didn't register them. They've just put them together to say, those reserves were there anyway. The marine reserves there, the currents is over, the carp, they're already there. It's just the case as we put them up and said, this is our biosphere, this is our living surface of the planet, this is what we're hoping to register. And then look at it and went, yeah, no, I think you've got something here. So it's registered.
Dunk, stamped.
Yeah. And, from a biosphere point of view, the idea is to celebrate the culture, to celebrate the community, to try and care for things and sort of promote education around sustainability and all that sort of thing.
And can that badge get taken off you if things go to shit?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Think that it can be removed. So say we build something in the wrong spot. Like, I'm just interested in how you can build and develop as well as look after the environment, because it's hard to put the two together. Yeah. And that's sort of your bread and butter, really, as a civil engineer, I suspect.
It is, and it's a difficult question. I mean, the reality is, again, it's different.
Of course, it's different.
It's different. It's different in probably a good way, I would say. The population of the Isle of Man in the time that I've been here since 2016, if the figures are to be believed, I don't know if they are or they aren't. If people live here or it's taxed, all these things, it's about the same.
Mm-hmm.
But everywhere else, the people are getting older and people are having children, and there's more and more houses. More and more housing required, so more and more things are built on, and that's kind of their problem, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So on the Isle of Man, I think it's slightly different, because if the population's not increasing, you don't necessarily need more housing. There are, obviously, house prices on the Isle of Man are absolutely crackers.
That is great, especially as a young person, mate, trying to buy a house or looking at buying a house. It's not even feasible right now, really.
Terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I've got to say, it really is. But, in terms of, in answer to the question, sort of...
like seeing you think, Mark.
How can you... The new estate at Biosphere.
Yes.
I don't know if you've been to that new estate.
I have, yeah.
So, if you look at one of those houses now, and this is going to bore you, so please don't switch off. It
won't bore me, I'm intrigued here.
You've got a wall. So, if we were to look at this wall here.
Yes, let's look at this wall.
This will be 2 foot thick, made stone, with a lot of straw and dust and crap in between.
Yeah.
And a little bit of whitewash either side. And that's it. So, if we were to put a kilowatt of heat in here, it will go out of here very, very quickly.
You're telling me.
And this is why I've worn a jacket, can't afford heating.
Jesus.
Only got water. Only going to brew.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the wall's too thick and the heat disappears. And the way that you work with these things is something called a U value. And basically you work out how much heat energy escapes through the wall. And there's limits prescribed now. So if you get a house in Ballacella and put that same kilowatt of heat in there, it takes an awful long time to get out of there because they've thought about it. So it's not wind, all the things that people love to get excited about, wind turbines, solar panels and things like that. It's just better insulated, and it's better insulated forever. So it's always going to, if your house is built like this, your heating bill might be 300 quid a month. If you've got that house in Ballacella, it might be 30 quid a month.
And like we're keeping the energy in the house.
And because you're putting less heat in, you're using less electricity, or gas, which is less CO2, etc., etc., etc. So, you know,
Okay. I never
in,
thought about it like that.
in theory, you could build 10 new houses and
Yeah.
better off than one old house.
Yeah, one old shed like this that
Yeah.
just lets all your heat out anyway, and you're burning loads of gas. Bloody hell.
Exactly. And then if you look round the back of it, what else have you got? So if you look around the back of it, have you seen the big reservoir pond?
Mm-hmm.
That's something in England anyway. They call that a SUDS system, which is a sustainable urban drainage system. So the problem that they get with basically paving over farmland is that all the water has to be captured on the road, on the roofs, and all the rest of it. It goes into the sewers. It overwhelms the sewer. Or if you're building a housing estate 5 miles inland and there's a pipe that goes out that does Palacella, you put 500 more houses on it, that pipe can't deal with the water. So what you do is you build that big sort of attenuation pond there that catches the water so it can fill up to the top and then quietly empty out and not overwhelm the drains and things like that.
I never thought about it like that.
Baths and showers, for instance. So, and it's actually quite annoying. If anyone wants to get in touch, we can tell you how to get the bits out. But the showers have a restriction in them, so that only so much water will come out. Boilers now, everything has a grade. We're all graded, aren't we? But you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, G rating, and that's how many, how much CO2 it creates when you're heating your house.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, in my house is from 1196 in England. It's a very, very old house.
Good Lord, Mark. Are you living in there like Victorian or something?
It's an old mill.
I'm right.
Yeah. But anyway, they had this boiler in there that weighed about as much as one of the big horses out there, and you could see the emissions coming out.
Yeah,
never mind
pouring out of it.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then I replaced that with an A-rated boiler. The bill went down enormously. Because none of these things were a consideration. That's what it's about. It's about making responsible choices. Because when that boiler was put in the 60s or whatever, heating oil wasn't expensive. Oh, gas wasn't expensive. People weren't concerned about these things. They were concerned about other things. But it's only kind of through education that people start to realise that actually you're better off with double glazing than single glazing.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, and I think they build houses with a couple of solar panels in there.
Yes.
They think about what happens to the water. They don't want to create problems. So, Dan Dara put a lot of time into making sure that
they have thought about that.
The water goes away nice. I mean, and they've had help with building control and the DOI and all the rest of it that help out with these things. So it's just a case of trying not to make things worse, which is actually what sustainable means.
Yeah, that is actually a great answer to that question, Mark. How can you develop?
I might answer my own question. I don't know.
How you can develop, build as well as sustain the biosphere. You basically just hit the nail on the head. Is try to reduce the amount you're using as a household and store what you can.
Yes. So
that was a great answer to that question.
So you're using less energy because that's the biggest cost is generally heating the water and the property itself. If you're using less water for baths and showers, if there are appliances in there that use electricity than they did 20 years ago, you've got triple glazing, double glazing, A-rated windows, extra insulation. So all these things make little differences, but they make little differences forever. Because that house is there. Houses last these days.
Well, I wouldn't know. It's not going to last as long as your old mill.
No. I don't think some of them should look at that, to be honest. But anyway, it's going to be a good 100 years. So for a good 100 years, that house is going to be using less electricity than one that's built in the 60s because it wasn't a consideration.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And then moving forward from that is then, how do you find that, because you're on the board, do you ever experience any proper skepticism from the general public on the Isle of Man? Is there ever any pushback about what the biosphere is, and is it worth this? There must be some pushback.
Were you not there when I got assaulted at the Lapwing? Some woman grabbed all of me and started going on about school.
No. Mark strikes you as a man who would get assaulted easily.
Well, that's what it doesn't happen, and that's what makes it more concerning. But,
tell the story.
No, that was the story. What are you doing about getting Max produce into school dinners? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm just trying to explain. Listen, that's the biosphere doesn't have any powers or anything. We're here to celebrate and educate and all that kind of thing. But personally, it's
not your job.
It's everybody's job.
Yes,
and you should never think like I know what you're saying, but you should never think like that. Again, when you talk about environment, and I've seen it, people roll their eyes. You know, I've done talks at places,
Mm-hmm.
and they sat in the audience wanting to attack me as soon as I mentioned something because they
Because
want to
you're
go on about
greedy.
melting ice caps and all this sort of stuff. And it's not what I'm not an activist. You know what I mean? So if you get a pint of milk from the Isle of Man and it travels from Tremold,
Mm-hmm.
I'll make up a different place. Not one. Goes 5 miles to the Comis Hotel. It's gone from there to there. You know, a Banks farm has benefited from that. The milk has only gone 5 miles and it'll last a little bit longer. Or it can come from a dairy in, I don't know, Lancaster.
Yeah.
It can come on the boat. It can get taken off a boat. It can go on a wagon. It can go to the thing and so on and so on and so on. So the closer, they call it farm to table, the closer the farm is to the table, the better it is for the community because everyone's benefiting.
Bingo.
Yeah. And the less energy it's using to take it to wherever it's going. So it's not, you're not on about polar bears and things like that. It's just common sense sustainability.
I think that's what people miss, you know. People think that the Biosphere is a green activist group, but it's just looking after where we all live, isn't it?
100%.
And yeah, I was a bit thinking before this conversation, I was a bit like, I wonder if it's going to be a greeny type of view on it, and I don't think it is actually. It sort of is a sensible view on the opinion.
It's just doing the right thing. And that's what sustainability means. I'm going to lose you now. So
It doesn't take much.
yeah, well I know. No, but the back before all this thing kicked off with, I'm going to say the word climate change and all the rest of it, there was a guy that came up with 2 ways of thinking, and it made sense to me. I hope it makes sense to other people as well. And he looked at, there's 2 ways of living. You can live like a cowboy, or you can live like a spaceship. I'll explain. So, a cowboy, this is not me. I'm going to butcher this, but basically, they'll turn up, they get off the horse, they cut the trees down, they have a fire, they go fishing, they kill all the animals nearby, they put the fire out, and then they go to the next place, the next place, the next place, the next place, the next place. And that works whilst there's not lots and lots and lots of cowboys. But eventually, obviously, you're going to run out of fish, you're going to run out of animals, you're going to run out of trees.
Yes.
And the other way that he put it was, if you think of the Earth as a spaceship, so it's a ball flying around space. So any harm you do to it, it's just there. It's going to stay there forever.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between that was how he put it. It made a lot of sense to me.
That does make sense.
So you can go around and burn down all the trees, and you can kill all the fish, and you can eat all the fish, and you can eat all the animals. But eventually, you're going to run out of these things. But if you think about this as, basically the Earth is a spaceship. It's, we're hurtling around the atmosphere at over 1,000 miles an hour. If you look after it, it's going to be there for future generations, which brings us back to the indigenous thing. You look after it, thinking about the next generations.
That's fascinating. That is a fascinating way to look at it.
I don't know if that's made sense. I don't know if
No, it has made sense. It has made sense. It's like you should restore what you take out, essentially, to keep hold of what we've got.
Yeah.
No, I like that idea, actually.
And it's entirely possible. You can cut some trees down and plant some trees, which is basically what they're doing with the plantations at the moment.
Yeah, I mean they look awful, but hopefully they'll replant them all and make it look a lot better.
It's like the predator or something.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like, they have just completely ripped them all out. And I remember as a kid going around there, there was trees everywhere on the mountain bikes with all my pals, and now it's just like, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Hopefully they restore them. Hopefully it doesn't take too long for the bloody trees to grow back. Fingers crossed. Because, like you say, you need to sort of replace what you're taking down, don't you?
Yeah.
Did you ever think, this is a bit of a random question, just sprung to mind, did you ever think you would end up on the Isle? Like,
no.
Where did you think in your head when you were my age at 20 or 22? Where did you think you would end up?
Yeah. I think it's that. I mean, that's a good question. I don't think I was smart enough to answer that question until I was about 25. You know what I mean? It's you kind of end up the product of the people that you knock around with. And,
correct.
Just answer some of these questions. We used to go out around Blackpool.
Yeah.
Drunk and have a good time.
Cause carnage.
Yeah, basically. You know,
Love that.
yeah, and it was fun, and nobody died. But you can't continue to live your life that way forever. But at the time, you just around all these people, and you think that's what. And it's only when you kind of get out and you meet new friend groups and things that you start looking at actually, you know, where am I going with this? You know,
Yeah.
I can't,
Which road are you going down here?
I can't be hungover every Monday morning, feeling depressed for the rest of my life. You know, I need to make something.
Yeah.
So,
And
you know, I did start to ask myself those questions, and then basically I started thinking about what I want to be, and started looking at careers and things like that. And that got me a bit later on, after another sort of career that I had, into civil engineering, which took me to university, which I mean, I couldn't. If you'd have told me then that was being university, I wouldn't have believed you. I came away with a first class honours degree.
Nice.
And then ended up getting poached by a big company and working on.
That's bananas, how one action can just change your whole route.
Oh yeah, well that's true of anything. You know, murder's a good example, but I mean, also, you think about better choice.
Yeah.
It does. It's sliding doors. Is the
Yeah.
film you want to watch.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it's true that I think the old saying goes that you're a product of your 5 closest people that you surround yourself with, and it does. The people do rub off on you, don't they, after a while? And I think that is it. That's a good message for a lot of people, actually.
Yeah.
Especially on the Isle of Man, because you can get yourself in some right pickles on the Isle of Man because everyone's so stuck in together. If you've got to be present enough to go, hang on, maybe I'm not making the right decisions here.
Yeah, but I think in some way I've seen that bad because again when I first came over here, I would ask people that I knew that knew everybody. I said, "Oh, what do you think about?" I will not say a person. What do you think about that guy over there? They go, "Oh my God, 2 years ago he was pushing a bush shelter over or whatever it is, or you never guess who that guy's dad is. Or you never." And there's all that sort of thing.
Which is what a bollocks, really.
Well, it may or may not be. I mean, well, I made a mistake because I always take people as I find them.
I like that.
And I mean, the same could have been said for me sort of 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I take people as I find them and make my own mind up about them. And so it's bad in that respect because some people just like to talk down about folk. But again, it comes back to this community thing and accountability. People are accountable. If you've got some moral fibres in you that care about what the people think, then you're going to think perhaps that's not the right thing to do.
The not right decision.
But if you've got 5 pints of ogles inside, you might be less likely to listen to that voice. You know.
Yeah, very true, Mark. I think that's a nice way to actually start wrapping this up, man.
Keep going, go on.
Are you sure? You got plenty of time. Let's keep digging into it then. So I want to touch slightly on the Comis and tourism a bit deeper. I think in the sense of how do you see the Isle of Man moving forwards in the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to tourism, and what improvements would you like to see in that area?
I think
we could just do with a cigar now, couldn't
we? And
a cup of tea.
Yeah, a cup of tea. Yeah. just about everybody. There's nothing in it.
Yeah, it's not just for show. I did offer you a hot chocolate.
I did. I'm not joking. I think we're quite fortunate that we've got some good people in the right places. So there's the various agencies and things. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of well intentioned, if you know what I mean. We've got to have a reason to come here, which is part of what we've been talking about. So I think there's a lot of good reasons to come here, be it the TT, be it golf courses, be it the Biosphere, be it the Black Sea Wheel, you know, whatever you want to call it. There's lots of reasons to come here. And it's also important to have nice places for people to stop, because what can happen is they'll come here, stop somewhere that's not particularly good, and think I'm not going back to the Isle of Man because X, Y, and Z. So there's obviously got the Comis, which is, you know, that's a 4-star hotel. Not be a 4-star hotel anywhere in the world. It's a great hotel. You've got the new hotels that have been built on the front there in Villiers Square. You know,
correct.
So, and others as well. I'm not just saying there's only one good hotel in the Isle of Man. That's not what I'm saying. But there's
slightly bad.
Yeah, well, I am, and that's what I'm trying not to say. But yeah, so there's good hotels being built, and that's so people have got a reason to come and somewhere good to stop.
Yeah.
You know, there's other things going on. I'm not going to start.
No, but I mean, like when we think about it, I would like to see tourism grow and grow and grow here on the Isle of Man, And people have always said that it's diminished over the last few years, but you have a different opinion because you're on first hand seeing it all the time at the hotel. And I just wonder what else the Isle of Man could offer, or what other things could it offer for people to come over and do. As just a general question, I think that a lot of people think about that. What else could the Isle of Man bring?
I don't think it needs to. I mean, I'm not just saying this. I think the Isle of Man's wonderful. I just think we need more people to know how wonderful it is.
How can we do that?
Well, you have clever people who do marketing and
Yes.
things. I mean, everyone's heard of the Isle of Man because of the TT, or nearly everyone. So
Yeah.
because of the TT. But you've got to kind of educate folk that there's more to it. But this is worse than that biosphere. Because, in the world, there's many, many, many millions, if not billions of people. And you're going to need a small percentage of them to be interested in sustainable tourism, for instance. We shout about it on the back of the credibility of UNESCO and all that sort of thing. People want to come to Isle of Man. Why would they not want to? Why would you not want to?
Where else are biospheres?
Well, there's lots. I think they've just added some more, so it's slightly less than 800 biospheres
In the world?
in the world. Yeah.
Have you got any examples of well-known places that would be a biosphere?
Well, I mean, close to home, the closest one I think is Dumfries and Galloway. So
Okay.
there's a biosphere over there, and they've got some very good people. They've registered their little bit of the world as a biosphere.
Yeah, it's a rural place up there, isn't it?
Yeah, and the estuary and all that sort of stuff. So they've kind of built a biosphere like that. They do a good job. There's some down Cornwall. There's several in the UK.
Right. Okay. Oh, so the UK, it's not like it's just the Isle of Man that's in the UK bubble.
No, but the thing that makes it unique, I think I'm right to say, because like I said, there's about another 25 came in recently. It's the only whole nation biosphere, and the fact that it's got water all the way around it makes it unique. I like to think of it. Do you know what a cloche is? It's like a glass bell.
Okay.
You can put a glass bell over the Isle of Man and everything inside it. And
like a ball over the top, like a big semicircle over the top, and it just locks everything in the Isle of Man.
That's it. That's the biosphere.
Right. And then is it something that's only in the UK and the Isle of Man and that sort of area in Europe, or does it spread out to like America and China and
it's all over
EU,
the world,
wherever?
I mean, I think I'm right in saying the same people that do biospheres at UNESCO also do the World Heritage sites like the pyramids and some of the big waterfalls and all sorts of stuff. I think about 5% of the surface area of the Earth is the biosphere, so it's quite a big area.
That is an incredibly big area. And the fact that the Isle of Man is so small is also pretty bananas.
Yeah, 220 square miles.
How the hell do you know that off the top of your head?
You put me under pressure, I need more water.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's 220 square miles, and I mean, some of the tourism issue is access to the island, isn't it? That is without being too political, that is some of the problem.
It is. I mean, you're touching on a very thorny chestnut here, but you've got to get to the Isle of Man. And otherwise, I mean, it's like the Lake District. The reason the Lake District does, or one of the reasons the Lake District does so well, is the Lake District's beautiful.
Yes.
You've got lakes, you've got hills, you've got all the Wainwright walks, all these bits and pieces of things. You can go from Manchester and get to the Lake District in an hour in your car.
Yeah.
You can and take your dog and all that sort of thing. It's dead easy, so it's easy to get to. So it is a barrier to entry, but people are prepared to take it.
Yeah.
We've got a fantastic ferry. I know there's issues with it before anyone starts, but you get on that Manxman, it's absolutely wonderful.
It is a nice boat
when it goes.
When it does sail.
It's brilliant. And the other thing about the boat is that a lot of folk don't realise they haven't really got a chance to shout about it because they're always talking about other things.
Under pressure.
That is a hybrid boat.
In the sense of half electrical, half.
It's a diesel electric boat, so the diesel engines aren't connected to the propellers, so the diesel engine charges batteries, which makes the boat run. So that when it's in harbour, all the ship is powered off the batteries as opposed to a diesel engine splitting fumes out in the harbour.
That makes sense. You've got some weird information in your head, Mark.
I was at the launch event. I was a bit
Remember
when they were, out with pitchforks and stuff saying everyone should come and have a look at the mountain.
There's you strutting around in your suit. Was that good?
The
launch for the Manxman.
It was great. I met some friends. I made friends with the people that built it.
All right.
So they're I've turned my phone off now. I'll show you. So there's Hyundai Bippo, I think they're called. So
Nice.
I'm a bit like, I just talk to anybody if I can.
Well, yeah, that's how we sort of met, was just sort of talking away.
And rowing and
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't mention I was a world champion in your
Don't rub it in about the bike and longboat. You've seen the size here. You can pull 2 oars for one person, can pull them, you big bugger.
But so I made friends with the guys that kind of manage the build of it. So I've got EY, EH, and Hunk in my phone. I'm in like a little WhatsApp group with them. So it's interesting.
That's bananas. I didn't actually realise the Manxman was a hybrid. That's actually crazy. And then this sort of leads us nicely on to our final question, because we try and keep these podcasts between an hour, 40 minutes to an hour. And I ask everyone that comes on the same question, because I believe in creating conversation. And that, I mean, we spoke a lot about the Isle of Man today. And the question is, if you could change or improve one thing about the Isle of Man currently, what would it be and why? Take a second to think about it. I'm going to finish my water off here. And you want to, now listen, you just want to hear some of the questions, some of the answers that people come up with. It's crazy.
I think it's quite easy. What would I change about the Isle of Man? Nothing. This is exactly what we've been talking about. Keep it just as it is. It's wonderful. The thing that I don't like, and I stay away from it because it's bad for your brain, is all the negativity, particularly on social media. If people could stop being so negative about things, I think it'd be a much, much better place.
Yeah. And do you think that would keep, by not being negative on social media, what positives would that bring?
I think it would make people freer. People would have more kind of freedom of speech, because I think people are scared to death of doing things.
That's so true.
Of course it is. I mean, coming on here is a risk for me. If I say the wrong thing, I could be unemployed tomorrow. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be, by the way. But it's possible. And there's things like, I mean, it is quite amusing, the bad parking page or whatever it is, but then you get folk taking pictures of folks with litter outside the car. We'll go and knock on the glass and say, excuse me, pick the litter for this.
Sort your shit out.
Yeah, rather than, shaming people on social media. We'll knock on the glass and say, just wind your window there and throw it out. So it'd be nice to see less negativity. And things like, I don't know, I mean, I'm not political, I don't vote or anything like that, and I know all of the MHKs one way or another. Who would do that job?
Oh my God, we're not exactly encouraging people.
Who would do that job with the amount of grief and hassle that they get? You know what I mean? They're not. I don't think any of them are bad people.
No. They're trying, not they, I suppose.
You'd earn more money as a decent plasterer, you know what I mean? And you can go home on a Friday.
And not think about
it. It's absolutely crackers, the grief that they get. And
I agree.
Does that discourage other people from getting involved?
100%.
I don't know.
But we need young people to try new things on the Isle of Man and push forward and drive the place forwards. And they're not going to do that if all they're going to get is hate all the time.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's quite interesting. If you don't read it,
I don't read it.
No, if you don't read it, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? Well, no, because you don't see it.
Exactly. People comment on things I do all the time, like on social media, and it's great. The interaction's great, but I don't read it, purely not out of being horrible. I just don't think it's healthy to absorb what other people think of you all the time.
Oh yeah, there's too much information.
And it's not great for your brain when people say, "Oh, you're doing so well," or when people saying, you always remember the one that says you're doing shite. Or you're not doing that good enough, and that's the one you remember, and that's the one that will irritate.
Can I just say one more?
Of course you can.
I'm pushing
Go
this
ahead.
thing all this.
No,
When I was an Ipper, and I got that job that I was talking about near the motorway, I used to drive down to a place called Risley near Warrington, and on a good day I get to work in an hour. On a bad day I get to work in 2 hours. So
that's quite a big time difference.
Because you get a traffic jam on the M6. That's a long time. So I would spend between 10 and 15 hours of my life every week that I was working on the motorway.
Holy
I'm now on the Isle of Man, and I've got an electric cycle to work on that now. It takes me 2 minutes to get to work. So I've got 15 hours of my life back. And what the point is, don't waste those 15 hours that everybody in the Isle of Man gets is for free on crap like that.
And thank you very much, Mark. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today. We'll have to do something like this again, I think. But I've learned a lot about Biosphere, and hopefully the listeners are I've listened to what you've said and absorbed the information, because it's actually not what I thought it was, just a load of green stuff, but it's actually not.
It's not, and you're going to have to go on the internet yourself and look up the 5Es, because I never quite got through.
I think you don't know them all, do you? That's right, yeah.
Of course,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Cheers, person. You're a star.
Legend.